Paulo Sotero is director of the Wilson Center's Brazil Institute. He joins us to discuss the aftermath of President Dilma Rousseff's visit to the United States, where she met with President Obama. Paulo, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Pleasure to be
Let
with
me
you.
ask you, a couple of years ago when we first started talking about this, there were a lot of hard feelings on the part of Brazil toward the United States for some of the spying and things that were making the rounds as big issues. Are those wounds healed? Has that moment passed?
Yes, clearly I think the visit was important in the sense of establishing a new atmosphere in the relationship that was really had been plagued with suspicion, with lack of confidence, etc. The visit was positive in the sense it resolved that. There is a much better atmosphere, although it's challenging because Brazil is undergoing a major economic crisis, a political crisis. There are major allegations of corruption. The very longevity of President Dilma Rousseff in office could become an issue.
So people are talking about that it's possible that she may not even complete her term.
Yeah, that is now in the scenario. How likely that
still far-fetched.
It's still far-fetched, but it is part of the
Just
discussion.
the fact that people are talking about it openly now. So did the visit to the United States help her at all back home, or is the situation so bad that it
No,
bump?
not in that sense. If there was any hope that the visit would help her in terms of her popularity in Brazil, no, although President Obama is very popular in Brazil, her popularity, her approval rating is at 8-9% right now. The visit didn't help in that sense, but again, the visit changed the atmosphere. People in business, people in diplomats, officials of both governments, and also I would say people in civic organizations, educational organizations, I think left the meetings, the conferences, etc., feeling much better about, prospectively about the relationship.
What about the press coverage in Brazil of the visit? Was it treated as a major event?
Oh, sure, but...
And was it positive, or was there some skepticism about the idea of political advantage?
It was positive, especially on 2 or 3 items that were covered, in which the two governments made some progress. One of them was climate change. This was actually probably the most important achievement of the visit. Was very important for the United States, looking at the December summit or UN meeting on the climate convention in Paris, where countries are supposed to commit to carbon emissions in a mandatory way, and that will probably replace the Kyoto Protocol of 1997. Brazil and the United States made some important joint commitments. One of them is to have at least 20% of their electricity generation capacity coming from new sources, renewable sources other than hydraulic power. This is a very important. The United States would have to triple its percentage of these sources. Brazil would have to double in the next 15 years to achieve that. Significant. Some things also that Brazil committed to do in terms of reforestation of mostly in the Amazon, but not only there. So very meaningful. And the White House, I think, was very happy with that outcome. Brazilians were too. It's very important that Brazil tackles climate change in a way that it is more part of economic policy that turns the economy in Brazil more competitive, changes methods of production. So this was one positive outcome.
About the economy, when you look at Brazil's international partners, countries from whom they seek investments, who are the most important countries on the list for Brazil, from the Brazilian perspective?
As a place to export Brazilian products, today is China in terms of raw materials, soybean, oil, iron ore. In terms of finished products, value-added products, the United States. Airplanes, machines, etc. So the United States remains the most important destination for manufactured products export and the most important source of risk, private sector risk, investment in the Brazilian economy.
What will it take to turn the situation in Brazil around? You're talking about dual crises, a political crisis combined with an economic crisis. What will it take to turn things around?
Aggravated by a major corruption scandal that is being investigated. I think it will take, really going back to basics in terms of reasserting the stability, the fundamentals that ensure stability in the Brazilian economy. Inflation now is running at about 9% a year. This is twice the target of 4.5%, the inflation target in Brazil. There will have to be a lot of fiscal adjustment, fiscal discipline reimposed in the economy. Brazil sort of lost its way in the first term of President Dilma Rousseff, lost a lot of credibility. It's a matter of regaining that credibility from markets, from investors, continuing to tackle the political situation. Brazil has a very fragmented political party system. I think as Brazil needs to face the economic crisis, we'll have to tackle that part also. And one thing in which Brazil has been quite exemplary, I would say, in the way of enforcing rule of law, of going after cases of corruption by the book. It is sort of a surprise, a pleasant surprise to Brazilians these days to see how the judiciary power, the federal police are working in having in mind the interest of the nation and doing things in a very deliberate way, very respectful of the law, and going after some very big fish that have always been protected by the guarantee of impunity in Brazil.
Final quick thought, Paulo, and excuse me for asking you to speculate, but will Dilma Rousseff be part of the solution, or will we be looking to the next president to lead Brazil back or get Brazil back on track?
Even in crisis, she may be part of the solution, but the situation seems pretty difficult right now for her. Brazil will face a couple of years of difficulties. It depends, John, on how we tackle the current difficulties, what happens next. Brazil is a country that I like to say is an accelerated nation. It's a nation that doesn't accept very much ideas like going backwards, dealing with recession. It's a society that is politically mobilized today, politically aware. It's going to be painful. I personally believe Brazil is going to get out of this much stronger as a democracy, much better organized as an economy, but it will take time. It will be tough.
And we'll look forward to tracking that progress with you along the way. Thanks, Paulo, for joining us.